Welcome back. It's another episode of the Field of 68's 2023 NBA Draft Prospect Profiles. I'm Greg Waddell. We got Rob Doster here. And today we are talking a very divisive prospect. Some people absolutely love him, think he's a top 10 player in this class. Some people wouldn't touch him anywhere. It's Ohio State's own Brice Sensabaugh, 6'6", 235-pound wing, 16 points a game, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 48% from the floor, 41% from three, 83% from free throw. By all accounts, this guy is a tough shot maker and a super efficient scorer. Will that translate to the NBA, Rob?
I don't know. I would feel very uncomfortable about drafting him in the top 23, 24, 25 picks, somewhere in that range. When it comes to what he does well, he is probably the best one-on-one player, I think, in this draft. Like, there is, for someone that is 6'6", 240 and built the way that he is, to be able to move the way that he does and get the shots off that he's able to get, it's really, really impressive. Like, he's so good in the mid-range. He has all the whatever phrase you want to use, whether it's step backs, pull backs, jab steps, one dribble pull-ups. Like, he's got everything. He's got a really, really well-developed offensive package. He can get to the rim. He powers through smaller defenders. Like, he is built like a defensive lineman and plays like he's a defensive lineman when he's going to the basket. Like, he's going to try to dunk on you. He could get through smaller defenders. Like, he is an absolute analytics darling. If you're one of these people that's going to buy into like efficiency, effective field goal percentage, like all of the kind of advanced numbers when it comes to what he is offensively, like, you're going to absolutely love this dude. To me, I think the tape tells a little bit of a different story. One, he's not an impact defender. You would think somebody with his size, his strength, and his athleticism would be a better defender than he is. He's got no clue. I think there's a chance that he can get to that level at some point, but he is just lost on that end. And I think a lot of it has to do with not really understanding what the rotations are supposed to be and not really caring about whether he's in the right spot. Like, we talked about it with Jordan Hawkins on a different prospect profile. That dude wants to guard. He doesn't have the physical tools to do it yet, but he will try and he will bust his ass to be able to be some kind of impact on that end. It's like the opposite with Brice. He is a guy that is one of the better athletes in this draft class, and it just does not seem like he puts in the effort on the end of the floor to be able to guard. The other issue I have is that I think a lot of what he's able to do has to do with the fact that he has a level of strength that most college players aren't going to be able to deal with. When you get to the NBA and you are being guarded by guys that are 6'8", 235 pounds, basically the same size as you, just as athletic as you every single night, what sets them apart? Now, with a lot of these guys in college, what you can say is, well, they didn't have the driving lanes. Well, they didn't have the space to be able to get to the basket. Well, they weren't able to do this. They weren't able to do that. The college game is different. There's going to be no one in the paint in the NBA. He played for Chris Holtman. Now, Ohio State did not have a great season this year, but the one thing Holt does is put 4, sometimes 5 shooters on the floor. There is space. Holtman, for whatever you want to say, if you're an Ohio State fan, you got criticisms about him, I get it, whatever. He is a very, very, very good offensive coach. He's going to create driving lanes. He's going to create spaces. He's going to create actions to put his guys in situations to be successful. And I worry about how that is going to translate to the next level when you are relying everything on being an offensive weapon, a guy that thrives in the mid-range, and being able to overpower people getting to the basket, right? I don't know how that works. I think that there's a real chance that we look up in 5 years and this dude's averaging 22 a game in the Euro League, right? Like, I kind of feel like he's tailor-made to being one of the best players that is going to play in Europe, where that physical ability will be able to shine through a little bit more. But I just think of guys like the name that immediately pops to mind is Harrison Barnes, right? Wasn't thought of as a great defender when he was in college, is a really good defender now with the Kings, 6'8", 240 pounds, is going to be even stronger than Brice Sensabaugh is right now in this moment. If you're being guarded by Harrison Barnes, what's Brice Sensabaugh going to be able to do, right? Like, I just, that is my concern with him moving forward. I don't know if what he does well offensively is going to be able to be as effective at the NBA level, considering the way that he does it.
Yeah, let me go a little story time here quickly, Rob.
Oh
Only
boy.
about 30 seconds or so here. But so I coached high school basketball for about 5-6 years before I did any of this media stuff. And the very first year I coached, most talented kid I ever coached at this high school was a senior, right? Absolute bucket getter, like 20, 25 a game. We weren't a great team, about 500 team, lost in the first round of the playoffs, whatever. But it was always like, oh, that dude's a bucket getter forever. Even when we had him, there were some motor concerns. I'm kind of putting him under the gun right now, but like just, very talented player. Always thought we should have been more of a winning team. Always wished there was a little more of a drive there. But whenever we were in practice, when practice ended, that whistle blew, he's looking at everyone he can saying, you want to check up, run ones right now? And he didn't lose once in that scenario. Fast forward about 7 years. I'm done coaching. I'm out of it. I go to play some pickup. This about 3-6 months ago. Haven't seen this kid in 7 years. He's put on about 100 pounds of not great weight, but he sees me. He runs up to me, asks if I want to run ones. We ran ones. He busts my ass, Rob, because he's a bucket, but he's just a bucket. And that's a term that I have used to describe Brice Sensabaugh since the moment I saw him this year. And I think it's going to translate with him wherever he plays professional basketball. I personally don't think it's going to be in the NBA for long because I question everything he can do other than isolation score. And he's one of the best isolation scorers. He can take you in the post. He bullied college defenders. To your point with Harrison Barnes, he probably isn't going to bully NBA defenders. You said he's built like a defensive lineman. I'm a little concerned that in a couple of years, he might be built like an offensive lineman, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know that what the weight he had in college was great weight, and I didn't really see that change over the course of the season. You talked about Chris Holtmann.
Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field 68 FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks.
Look, Ohio State fans have completely turned on Chris Holtmann in the span of 6 months, right? Chris Holtmann's been putting dudes in the league, one and done type dudes in the league. Malachi Branham's in the league. Now Brice Sensabaugh is in the league. He's got another great recruiting class coming in. And this team is really the team that made Ohio State fans completely turn on Chris Holtmann. And Brice Sensabaugh was the largest part of this to me. Like, this team was horrible. They were 15-18 with Brice Sensabaugh in the lineup. Chris Holtmann's not a bad coach. He's not dumb. And Sensabaugh was coming in and out of the lineup in February. Like, he didn't start 12 games for this team. And it wasn't just the beginning. Like, it's sporadic. There were reasons that Chris Holtmann was like, this guy needs to come off the bench on a really bad team in college when he was clearly the most talented player there. I think he's a bad body language guy. He's not a want-to defender. He had a 34% usage rate, Rob. Only an 11% assist rate, despite how much he had the ball in his hands. There was a stretch of games this season where he did not have more than 1 assist in a game for the first 20 games of this season. And he had the ball in his hands so many times. I'm just firing numbers at you now, but really, there's so much here with Brice for me. This is the craziest thing I wrote down about Brice Sensabaugh. You add up his assists, steals, and blocks this year, little ways to impact the game, right? That don't involve scoring. He had 69 assists, steals, and blocks combined on the year. He had 67 turnovers. That's not a winning basketball player. And I don't know what happens. Like, I don't know what situation drafts Brice Sensabaugh and can find a way to utilize the good part of Brice Sensabaugh. But let's be clear, it's a singular part that is good about what Brice Sensabaugh can bring to a basketball floor. If some genius GM finds that and finds a way to get a coach to utilize that, there is potential for him to be a big-time scorer in the league. But there's too much negative there for that to be overcome, in my opinion. I don't see it.
Yeah, the one thing that I'll say is this: the footwork, the ability to create space in tight situations, the shot making, the pull up game. Like, if he's able to add everything else and become a guy that is a willing defender, that is someone that kind of understands, hey, look, my role is playing 16 minutes a game off the bench. Just come in, we're down. All right, let's try to get this thing sparked. Let's find a way to get this thing going. Let's find a way where I can be an impact player coming off the bench. Like, I think that there's a world where that works. Like, let's go back to Malachi Branham, right? Another similar player that is an elite offensive weapon in college that was not known for his defense, is the friendly way to say it. Ended up averaging double figures this year for the Spurs on a team that was tanking and was not trying to win, but still ended up averaging double figures a game at the NBA level. Like, I can see a situation where it works. I'm not convinced. Like, it's all going to depend on whether that dude is willing to buy in on the defensive end of the floor, because I don't think that he can be someone that is going to be good enough offensively to make up for the flaws that he has on the defensive end. I'm not fully buying it.
So I'd also just like to say, and I don't want to, I've been very harsh on Brice Sensabaugh during this 10 minutes, but I was at the Big Ten tournament, right? Ohio State, like we said, losing team. Nobody expected anything from them. All of a sudden, they win their first 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, right? Brice Sensabaugh played on them. He was not the best player in those games, but he played fine. Bruce Thornton was crushing. But all of a sudden, there's some momentum here, and people are looking at Ohio State like, wait a second. They might be able to win out and make the NCAA tournament, right? Like, they were 3 games away at that point, facing Michigan State in the quarterfinals. Brice Sensabaugh decided at that point to hang it up. It was a weird move. Like, there was no moment that was like an inciting injury. This was just like, all right, I've done my 2 games in this tournament. Let's pack it up. I'm ready for the draft now. And Ohio State beats Michigan State. All of a sudden, they're playing Purdue 2 games away from an NCAA tournament bid. And Brice Sensabaugh was nowhere to be found. Like, I have so many questions about how he's wired emotionally and mentally. And look, scoring wise, again, top 5 guy in the draft to me from an isolation perspective. But that only takes you so far. I have 2 comps. One of them's another Ohio State guy that people that aren't Ohio State fans may not even remember this name. Deshaun Thomas, big-bodied bucket getter, right? Maybe that works. Maybe he finds a way to latch onto an NBA roster. In reality, he was a European basketball player, right? The one that did stick in the league for a little while, Dion Waiters. I think that Sensabaugh being a bigger, taller, bigger-bodied Dion Waiters is probably the best case outcome for him. But a lot needs to go right for that to even happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Dion Waiters was a little bit more talent. Like, I think they're a little bit different basketball players, but I get it. I get where you're going with that. I don't hate the comparison. I'll be rooting for him because I don't like rooting against players. You know, I want every one of these guys to get that $100 million contract and then give me the 4% for touting them on a college basketball podcast. But we'll see where it ends up going from there. I look at Brice and Jet Howard in similar ways, and I think that what Jet Howard can be offensively, like, there is a very specific role that he can play that will work in an NBA offense. Whereas I don't think that Brice Sensabaugh is good enough at the role that he would have to play to be able to make it work long-term at the NBA level. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. No, I think, as crazy as it sounds, I think Jet Howard is a safer bet than Brice Sensabaugh, but there's a lot of red flags with both of them.
Yep, I agree.
Oh, I forgot I'm hosting this. Jesus Christ, Rob. This is what happens when we do 8 of these, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for watching. If you want more of these episodes, we have over 50 of these that we're rolling out over the next 6 weeks. Click the description. You can see links to all of them. And make sure you watch our live mock draft as well. That's going to happen a week before the actual NBA draft takes place. Rob, this was a blast, my friend. Thanks for doing this. For Doster, I'm Greg Waddell. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.